Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about our work on fetal MRI at FETA Challenge. My name is Maria Depres, and I will talk about fetal MRI, motion correction, advanced modalities, and clinical applications. I am sure many of you already know what fetal MRI looks like and what challenges it poses. Here are two of our fetal patients. On the left, you can see a small fetus at mid-pregnancy, and this fetus is moving a lot because it has a lot of space. On the right is a bit older fetus at 28 weeks of gestation, and you see that this fetus moves a bit less because it doesn't have so much space. This sequence, by the way, is a thick slab 2D plus time cine sequence, so we can see the whole baby moving in time. Here is the outline of my talk. First, I will briefly describe how we obtain 3D images of moving fetus. In the second part, I will talk about motion correction and reconstruction of advanced fetal modalities, namely fetal diffusion MRI and fetal cardiac MRI. I will conclude by describing current and future clinical applications. Motion-corrected fetal brain MRI has been around for a while, and many of you will be familiar with it, so I will just quickly review the key ideas. Recent addition, though, is correction of deformation that allows to reconstruct also fetal body and placenta. And of course, recent AI techniques also started transforming fetal MRI, as they help us deal with extreme fetal motion and build fully automated reconstruction pipelines. During MRI acquisition, fetus is moving and mother is breathing. 3D MRI sequences take a long time to acquire and they would be corrupted by this motion. For this reason, true 3D MRI of fetus is not possible. The solution is to acquire one slice at a time and thus freeze motion in time. As a rule of thumb, each slice should be acquired in under 1 second. Here you can see an example of a stack of slices that we acquired. This is fetal brain, and you can see that we have nice slices, but through plane in this stack we can see corruption by motion. The simple but powerful idea how to obtain 3D fetal MRI is slice-to-volume registration, first proposed by François Rousseau and Colin Stadholm back in 2006. We first acquire stacks of slices in different orientation, and this is convenient because that's what's acquired clinically. And then we register this stack to a selected stack as volumes. This way we will obtain the first volumetric image of fetal brain, and it will not be probably very nice, it will be a bit messy and blurry, but it will be good enough to serve as a target for slice-to-volume registration. So in this next step, each slice is registered to the volume separately. And then we can iterate the process to refine the volume and improve the registration. Usually we don't need many iterations, around 2 or 3 tends to be sufficient, and the process nicely converges. So, how do we reconstruct 3D volume from aligned slices? The problem is that the data is not on a regular grid because we moved each slice differently. And second problem is that the fetal MRI is often acquired using thick slices to obtain good SNR, which means low noise, and this means that it's blurred through plane. For this reason, the most popular method for reconstruction of 3D fetal volumes is super resolution, and this was first proposed by Ali Golipur in 2010. So, to be able to perform super resolution reconstruction, we first have to define a forward model, and this is simulation of slice acquisition. So, we have a 3D model of baby's head, which of course we don't have, but this is the forward model. So we can imagine that we have it. And then according to motion parameters, so we got that from registration, slice to volume registration, we orient the fetal head in the scanner. And then we can simulate acquisition of the slice through a point spread function. So this is our simulated slice, and point spread function that we are using as a 3D Gaussian, and it corresponds to the resolution of the voxel. So you can see that it's elongated to show thick slices. Now, of course, this is just a model, the forward model, but we want to get what we had at the beginning, which is the 3D volume. So we actually need to solve the inverse problem. And to do that, we will minimize the error between simulated and acquired slices. Yeah, so that's our simulated slice, acquired slice, so we compare them. And we minimize this error using the gradient descent. So to do that, we start with some kind of approximation of the volume. It can be through some weighting scheme, averaging scheme. And we first initialize the volume, and then we are able to simulate the slice, as I showed on the previous slide. So we can simulate all the different slices. We calculate the errors, and then we update the volume. And this update, I didn't put it here, but it's based on gradient descent equation. And we iterate until it converges to a nice solution, as you can see here. I have just described the two key concepts of SVR algorithm: motion correction and super resolution reconstruction. However, the full SVR algorithm needs to have a few more elements, and these include rejection of corrupted and misaligned slices, regularization to reduce noise in the reconstructed volume, and correction of MR intensity artifacts. And finally, what I want to show you is the comparison of the resolution in the acquired data and the reconstructed data. It does appear that we gain in resolution, and we have much clearer images after super resolution reconstruction. And there is a reason for it, because super resolution algorithm can actually correct for blurring that is introduced by thick slice acquisitions. The original SVR algorithm uses rigid registration to co-align the slices. That means that we can only properly reconstruct the body parts that only change position and orientation, such as fetal brain and head. However, other fetal body organs also deform. You can see that in this example, in particular, if you look at fetal spine, you can see how it deforms during fetal motion. And of course, in this situation, the rigid SVR doesn't produce good quality images. We have therefore decided to incorporate deformable registration into SVR, and we call this algorithm deformable SVR, or DSVR. This is work of my postdoc, Alena Us, that came out in 2020. And you can see that her method is not only able to reconstruct the fetal body, but also the whole fetus, placenta, which you can see a bit here, and even the whole uterus. This is partly due to the deformation that we correct, and partly due to a new robust statistics that works on patches of the image and is able to clear up any misregistration. And also, if you want to look at fetal organs here, you can see the difference. So here is how segmentation of fetal lung from the original motion corrupted stack of slices, and this is what you can get after the reconstruction. Nice volumetric image. You can see this is this fetus has hypoplastic lungs due to congenital diaphragmatic hernia. One is normal, the other one is very small. There are a couple more problems with the classical SVR. Performance of the rigid SVR depends on creating a good quality brain mask, and this used to be done manually. Secondly, If the fetus moves too much, then a slice-to-volume registration may not converge to the correct solution and the whole reconstruction fails. There are several manual interventions that can be done to deal with this kind of cases. It is drawing a quality mask, selecting a good template stack, creating initial transformation using manual landmarking, and excluding severely corrupted stacks. This has been a very successful strategy, but of course also very time consuming. So this is not a situation we want to be if we want to run large fetal studies. And recently solution came from several groups who use deep learning to fully automate the pipeline and correct excessive motion. Here you can see an example of a young fetus that is moving excessively. The red region is the brain or the head, and the blue region is the fetal body. And you can see that this baby is really jumping and turning. So, of course, the classical SVR will fail in this case, and of course also DSVR. We designed a deep learning solution to reconstruct such data, and this was proposed by Alena again and came out this year in medical image analysis. Alena took a slightly different approach from the other groups by working fully in 3D. And I'm going to explain our approach a bit more in detail now. So we have a thin slice sequences that can have a lot of motion in them because it's lots of slices, so it takes a long time to acquire. So what we do first, we will split our stacks into packages. And we split them based on acquisition order, so the slides that were acquired consecutively are in the same package, and the package also covers the whole region of interest. This way we will get several stacks of slices that we call packages that are more similar to clinical sequences. So they are acquired quicker than the whole stack, and they look like they have thicker slices and they have much less motion in them. And these packages is what we work with. So then we use 3D unit to localize the region of interest. So in the case of this paper, it was fetal trunk. And not only we localize the whole region, but also organs within this region or structures. So in this case, it's fetal heart, fetal liver, fetal lungs, and fetal abdomen. And this gives us 4 regions, and then we extract centroids of this region, and this can be used as landmarks. And then we have also atlas with the same landmarks, and we use point-based registration to match the landmarks in each stack, in each package, with the landmarks in the atlas. So using this method, each package is reoriented into the atlas space, and we have a transformation per package that we can feed to DSVR as an initial transformation. And this transformation will correct for a majority of excessive motion. And DSVR then can do the work for the minor motion that is left after this rigid registration. Alena also created a solution for a fetal brain, as you can see here. And this solution is fully operational, but is not currently published. We have also measured the success rate of the automated DSVR for a fetal trunk. For that, we randomly selected 100 datasets, 50 of early gestational age and 50 of late gestational age. I think cutoff is around 28 weeks. And we achieved 98% success in older fetuses and 88% success in younger fetuses. Now it's important to say what we mean by success. So by success, we mean good or high quality, so 2 highest categories, because these correspond to diagnostic quality images. Most failures were in the poor category, and this was generally linked to poor acquisition quality rather than failure to correct fetal motion. Only one case of early GA failed completely. If you are interested in our technique to use for your fetal studies, it is available on a Docker, so you don't need to install the neural network separately from DSVR. Everything is compiled together, and here is where you can download our Docker versions of this software. If you need any help, please contact Alena and she will be happy to assist you to set it up on your workstation in your lab. And finally, I want to also show you an example of fully automated reconstruction of fetal brain. So this case was not, did not have severe motion. It would have worked using the classical SVR, but this reconstruction was fully automated, which means that the masking was automated and reorientation was automated as well. So even for cases where you would have succeeded previously, you get a fully automated tool that doesn't require any user interaction. So this is all for the structural fetal MRI. I think I should be about midway through my talk. So for this reason, I will be a bit more brief in the second part, where I will describe advanced fetal MRI modalities. Echoplanar imaging sequence is essential for diffusion and functional MRI. However, it suffers from geometric distortion due to inhomogeneity of the main B0 magnetic field. Here you can see the inhomogeneity of the B0 field caused by a gas in maternal gut. And here you can see what it does with the image. The spatial shift of the voxels happens only in phase encoding direction, which is the Y direction of the slice. And the fetal head is surrounded by fluid, and therefore in the region of the fetal head, the B0 field is usually smooth and obeys Laplace equation. This knowledge helps us to estimate the distortion with higher accuracy. As before, we set up a forward model of acquisition of an EPI slice. This time, we do have an actual model of the 3D head that we obtained from SVR reconstructed structural acquisition. And of course, the advantage is that structural acquisition is not distorted. So now we are able to register the EPL slices to this structural 3D image. And once we have motion parameters, we can orient the 3D image in the scanner space according to the motion parameters, and we can simulate an undistorted slice. And once we have simulated undistorted slice, we can use deformable registration to correct the distortion. This registration is performed only in phase encoding direction, and the deformation field is constrained by Laplacian equation as well. Now we can repeat this process several times, because when we register distorted slices to the 3D volume, we can get some small errors in the motion parameters. So after we undistort them, we can improve estimate of the motion. Here you can see distortion correction applied to B0 stacks of slices, which are not diffusion weighted. You can see that the distortion was nicely corrected. The estimated distortion field can also be applied to the diffusion sensitized stacks. Of course, this assumes that the field has been stationary during acquisition. So let's now assume that we have corrected the distortion and estimated motion of the fetal diffusion data. So how do we then reconstruct the diffusion signal? Before I explain that, I just want to quickly review what the diffusion signal is, so that we understand how it links then to the method that we will use. So here we have a bundle of white matter fibers, and you see that the fiber direction is this way. And what the diffusion signal will look like, it's like a disk, because along the fibers the water can diffuse, so we will lose the signal, while across the fibers it can, so the signal will be preserved. And then we need to convert diffusion signal to the fiber orientation to get the direction of the fibers. So we can see that diffusion signal is really a function on a sphere, and it can be therefore parameterized by spherical harmonic bases, which are shown here. And this gives us compact representation. And to convert them to fiber orientation distribution, I use the technique proposed by Donald Tournier that is called spherical deconvolution and is implemented in MR-Trix. So after distortion and motion correction, the fetal data will be scattered in 3D spatial domain and also in angular domain. This is because sensitization gradients need to be rotated according to the motion parameters for each slice. So we will end up with one sensitization gradient per slice. So what we really want to achieve, we want to reconstruct the fetal diffusion signal on a grid, as you can see here in this picture. And once we have done that, then we can apply constrained spherical deconvolution implemented in MR-Trix to get the fiber directions in the fetal brain. So how do we go about this reconstruction? We will just take the classical super-resolution approach where we first start with a forward model. And the forward model will be split in 2 steps this time. For each given rotated diffusion gradient, we will simulate the diffusion signal for the whole 3D volume, right? So this is our reconstructed data that we don't have, but we would like to have. And then we apply the rotated diffusion gradient and we get the whole volume with that gradient. And now we are in the same situation as we were in with the structural data. We have the volume, so we can orient it in the scanner space, and then we can apply the spatial point spread function to simulate the slice. And once we have the simulated slice, we can solve the inverse problem using gradient descent. And this is exactly the same as in the case of structural data. And here just a quick look at the reconstructed DHCP data. We can see how fiber orientations in the fetal brain evolve over gestation. And finally, let's have a look at our fetal cardiac sequences. And this is, of course, primarily the work of our physicists, Professor Joe Heinel, Joshua van Amerom, and Tom Roberts. So in this case, the input are the 2D plus time cine sequences. So we have slices where we can see the fetal heart beating, and these were reconstructed using KT-Sense. And we would like to get a 3D plus time volume from these slices. So how do we go about it? Well, we'll do what we always do, just first create a forward model. So we'll start by generating the nominal cardiac phase using temporal point spread function, which is sinc. And then we get 3D volume in particular cardiac phase. And then in the second step, we are in the same situation as before. We have 3D volume. We orient it in the scanner space according to the motion parameters, use spatial point spread function to simulate the acquired slice. And then we can compare simulated and acquired slices and solve the inverse problem to get the 3D plus time data. This technique was also extended to cardiac blood flow, and this is calculated from the phase images. It just requires another step for the reconstruction. In the final few minutes, I would like to move to current and future clinical applications of motion-corrected fetal MRI. Our most advanced clinical application is diagnosis of fetal cardiac anomalies. David Lloyd proved in 2019 that using 3D MRI, the anomalies of fetal cardiac vessels can be better diagnosed than using 2D MRI or fetal ultrasound. You can see here an example of a normal fetal heart, and this is a double aortic arch, which is not normal. So you see that actually the problem here is incorrect topology of the cardiac vessels. And you can understand why that would be difficult to see on motion corrupted MRI or on 2D ultrasound. Based on this work, we have set up the first fetal cardiac MRI service in the world in Evelina Children's Hospital, London. The diagnostic process includes manual segmentations of the heart and vessels, and we have therefore started working on the automated segmentations. Alena has created fetal cardiac atlases of normal and abnormal heart. She used these atlases for label propagation to create a training data set and then trained a neural network to have automated multi-label segmentation. And Paula is continuing this work, trying to improve the performance of the segmentation, and you have seen her talk this morning. In St. Thomas Hospital, we are also using a reconstructed 3D fetal brain MRI for reporting of fetal brain anomalies. And while it has not been formally measured whether diagnostic confidence is better or not compared to 2D MRI, anecdotal evidence shows that when there are difficult cases, 3D MRI gives better confidence to the radiologist. We are also looking at future applications for other fetal organs. We hope to eventually perform a fully automated 3D fetal volumetry of different organs that could be used in large clinical studies, and also to design criteria for fetal treatment, for example, in conditions such as diaphragmatic hernia. The final aspect of 3D fetal MRI that I would like to mention to you is a change in how we acquire fetal data. In a traditional approach, the scan needs to be oriented in standard planes with respect to the fetal brain, and this way lots of time is lost for planning and repeating scans. Standard fetal brain clinical scan takes over 15 minutes, and with 28% of scans out of plane and 51% requiring repeat acquisitions in our study. If we decide to trust the 3D reconstruction, the scanning can be performed in a prescribed orientation with respect to the mother, and most of the planning is not needed. We have found that this way we can cut the scanning time in half, with only 13% of scans requiring repeat acquisition. Also, SVR worked in virtually all cases. If you are interested in any of our fetal reconstruction tools, check out our website at svrtk.github.io. You can also contact Alena and me if you would like any help. Thank you for your attention.